Hey everybody, welcome to the shop. So today we're going to dive into a simple project that will not only save you time, it'll save you money and frustration in your shop. I'm talking about setup blocks made out of HDPE. Whether you're a seasoned machinist or you're just getting started, this is a project you're going to want to stick around for. Let's get started. Alright, first off, let's talk about these setup blocks. What is a setup block? A setup block is a precisely machined piece of something to quickly set up tools, align work pieces. They ensure consistent measurements. You've probably seen them made out of metal. I've made a few here out of wood. But today we're talking about these guys right here. These are made out of HDPE, which is high density polyethylene. So why choose HDPE over other materials? Let me break it down for you. Affordability. HDPE is super affordable. It's cheaper than aluminum. It's cheaper than steel. You can get a full sheet for the cost of what you'd spend on several other types of materials. If you were to buy this thing right here in a full sheet or a full bar, it would cost you way more than these guys. And you can take these and turn them into 1, 2, 3 blocks if you so choose. Not only are these things lightweight and super cost effective, they're also pretty durable. They can take a pretty good whack and not dent them, not mess them up, nothing. You do that to these things, you just ruined them. So again, HDPE, and they're pretty customizable as well. As you can see, I've dialed in the numbers here with a Sharpie marker. All right, so how do we make these things? Let's go into the shop that's not the shop, and I'll show you some quick programming. This is the most basic programming you're ever going to see on how to make these things. Let's go in the shop that's not the shop. All right, so we're in the shop that's not the shop, and one thing I forgot to mention out there was the machinability of these things. They don't require any specialized tooling to make these things, and they're extremely customizable with the machine and the programming. So let's jump on the computer here, and I'll show you the simple programming that I talked about. Okay, any software will work to do this. I happen to use Carveco. Go to the square tool and make your first rectangle the size of the setup block that you're looking for. I'm not going to mess with the sizes here. Click Create. That gives us the basic shape of the block that you're looking to make. Let's make another square. Create that one, and let's make another square and create that one. Now these two should be exactly the same, but for the sake of simplicity, I'm not going to worry about it. Click Create. Go to the cursor tool. We can grab this one and slide it up here to the corner and release. We can grab this one, and let's grab it in the middle and slide it up and release. Now ideally these guys would be lined up perfectly on the bottom and they would be exactly the same height. That way you have the center notch that's the same as this overhanging notch. Use your software and create your tool paths, cut them out, and you're good to go. If you're looking for a more in-depth tutorial, I'll stick that on the back end of this video. So stay tuned after the video to check out the tutorial. But let's get back out to the shop that is a shop and continue. Now I put that underneath there so that when I cut through I don't wreck my wasteboard. Here's a quick shot of a 30-degree V-bit for you. So to cut these things out, you're going to want to use a O-flute bit. Cadence Manufacturing makes this one right here, and it works excellent. Good for removing chips, cuts like butter. Alright, just in case I didn't say it inside, I strategically put these tabs in here. That way I know that this and this and this have not been affected by me messing around cleaning things up. Put the tabs on the high side where it doesn't matter. Then you can clean them with a flush trim bit. like that. And as you can see, it makes these fine chips, not dust. So cleanup is a breeze. Alright, how do we use these things? So the center notch is for height adjustment, obviously. You can bring your blades up to the bottom of that. On an older saw, you have to move the blade around to make sure that you've got it the right depth. You use the outside edge for over the hang like that. If it was a router and you were putting it up against a fence, you'd use that. Here we're going to set the height of the cut. Now obviously that flush trim bit isn't the right tool to do this with. It's just an example. If that was a regular end mill, that would show us how deep to cut. And of course we can use it here to set our stops so that we know how deep we go if we're going to go in 1/4 of an inch. And there's many other uses for these things. So the real magic here is the consistency with these little guys. You can cut these things to the thousandth of an inch with your CNC. They're consistent, they stay the same. They're not affected by moisture. These guys here, they're great, but if they pick up some moisture, they're gonna swell and then they're gonna shrink when they dry back out. So they're not super accurate. These guys, super accurate, but very expensive. This is the best option. These guys right here. And one other thing, you know, you don't have to make these in standard sizes. You want a 7/16 block? That's no problem. You want one that's an angled block at a 45 degrees? Mill out a 45-degree angle block. You want a 4, 5, 6 block instead of a 1, 2, 3? You can do that with HDPE on your CNC over there. The combinations are endless. All right, folks, there you have it. HDPE setup blocks, a versatile, cost-effective way to make your own blocks in your own configurations to set up your routers, your table saws, and your CNCs, and your drill presses, and anything else you can think of in your shop. So if you think I've earned it, please give us a like and a subscribe. That helps our channel grow. Check out Hinkleshop.com, and as always, I'll catch you on the next one. Okay, we're going to begin by opening up Carveco Maker, which I've already done here. And the stock size that I'm using in this case is a 6x12 piece of stock. You can get that in multiple sizes, and I got mine off the Jungle Store. I'll leave a link to that below in the comments, so if you're interested in getting this piece of HDPE, you can. But we've got a piece that is 12 inches wide by 6 inches high. I'm working in inches, obviously. Our origin is in the bottom left, and I'm going to click OK. Now Carveco opens up into the 3D view. We're going to work in the 2D view to do this project. And there we have the 2D view. Obviously I clicked up here on these two tabs to switch between the two views. Now the project that I had out in the shop, that is the shop, I had multiples on here for all the different sizes. We're not going to bother doing that in this case. I want to keep it simple for you. So we're going to make one single setup block. So go to the square tool here on the left. Going to click that. Then we're going to left click and drag out. It doesn't matter how wide or how high you drag this. We're going to change it over here. We're going to make this thing a 6-inch wide setup block. We're going to make it a 1-inch high setup block. And we're going to click create down here on the bottom. That puts the square or the rectangle on your project, your work surface here. If you made a square, let me show you what happens. If you made a square like this, drug it out, and did not hit create, when you go back to the cursor tool on the top, the square will disappear. So always remember to hit create. All right, so we have our square. Let's make that active one more time and push F9 to put it in the center. Now what I'm going to do is, let's choose a size. Okay, let's say we wanted to make a block that was, let's make it a 1/2-inch setup block. I'm going to go up here on the top, left click and drag in a guideline. I'm going to drag it to the bottom until I get that symbol on my screen. I'm going to release. When I get the double arrow here, I'm going to move over. When I get the double arrow, I'm going to right click Going to go down here to Edit Guideline. This screen will pop up. I'm going to go down here to Insert Guidelines. I'm going to insert a guideline at a 1/2 inch, 0.5. Now, I want that guideline inserted relative to this line, so we're going to click Relative Offset, and I'm going to hit Insert. And as you can see, it puts another guideline in up here. Now, say I wanted to put a guideline below the box, I would put a negative right here, negative 0.5, click Insert, and it would drop a guideline on the bottom. Obviously, we're not doing that. Closing this out. You saw that I had a cutout here on the bottom. Easily done as well. Let's drag this over, and we're going to look for center. When you get that symbol, you're in the center. And so that your bit will fit up in there, you can make this gouge or this recess any width you want. What I'll do is come up here to the double arrow again, right click, edit the guideline once more. Again, this is going to be a relative offset. Let's make this notch in the bottom of this thing, let's go 1 inch wide. So I'm going to go negative 0.5 and insert. Then I'm going to remove the negative sign, and I'm going to go positive 0.5 and insert. That just gave me a 1 inch gap here in the top, or left and right I should say. We can close out this menu. So now we have the makings of our 1 inch by 1/2 inch recess. That's the notch, so we can slide this thing over top of our tools. Let's put one over here so that we can slide this thing into the edge of something that may have a fence that's going to obstruct and not allow us to use the center portion. That's why that notch is cut on this side. Same thing. Let's drag in a guideline till we get that symbol and release. Double arrow, right click, edit the guideline, relative offset. Let's go in roughly, let's go in 3/4 of an inch. Again, we want to have enough room to put this thing against our bit and our fence, and still have enough room for the radius that the 1/4 inch bit is going to cause on the corner when it switches here. I'll insert this, close this, and by the radius I mean when your round shaped bit goes into this corner, this will never be a sharp corner. So you want to leave enough room so that when that bit goes around the corner like this, you still have a nice flat area right here to use as your setup depth. All right, so there's the makings of the cutouts. Well, how do we cut it out? Pretty easy. Go over here to the line tool, create polyline, left click that, start on this corner. When we get the window, we'll left click, let go of the button and go up till we get that symbol, left click again, across till we get the crosshair, left click, down till we get the crosshair with a dot, and left click. Now when we stretch out, we can see that we have a line following us. Let's get rid of that by pushing the space bar. We're going to do it again right here. We have the crosshairs with the dot, we'll left click, releasing the button because we want this to work straight. We don't want to make a squiggled line. We release the button. When we get the crosshair again, we left click, going over to the next spot, and it's not this one, it's all the way over. Left click again, dropping down until we get the dot, left clicking again. Again, we have the line following us. We push the space bar to get rid of that. Go over here to the side, and I always kind of chuckle. I say this looks like a man laying underneath a barbell, but that's not what it is. It's a pair of scissors. So let's click on that, the trim tool. We're going to go all the way over here to the side here where it says auto join, and we're going to select that. Then we're going to come back with the scissors, and we're going to cut away what we don't want. And in this case, we don't want this corner. As you can see, the scissors open when I touch a vector with them. So when they open, click, and click again. Oops, we don't want it to do that. So let's undo here. Let's undo the auto join, and let's remove it now here and here. We're going to do it here again to remove the bottom. Now we're going to go to the cursor and click on that. Let's go up to the view, all the way down to delete guidelines. They're gone. We need to remove that one last little leg here. That is gone. Let's go to the cursor once more. Highlight everything. Going to go back up here to vector. Going to go down here to join. We're going to join with coincident nodes. Over here to 0.1 for a tolerance, and we're going to join. And now we have a single vector all the way around. And then you would just do normal tool pathing to cut that shape out. But let's say we wanted to put in the numbers of what this thing is. That's easy. Let's go to the text tool over here, the T. We're going to click inside the shape, and we said this was a 1/2 inch, so let's do 0.5. Go over here to the side and scroll down to where it says create. We're going to click on create there. Let's put 1/2 inch on this side for those of us that don't know what 0.5 is. I know that's silliness, but let's put that in here. Oops, go to the cursor tool. Deactivate the text, or it will continue to try and work with this text. So we deactivated it with the cursor tool. Then we go to the text tool, and we can start again by entering it here. 1/2 inch. Again, we need to create. So now we have both of those indicators. We need to move them into position, so highlight them. Grab, drag to where you want the thing and release. I'm dragging with the left mouse button. Again, highlighting the 1/2 inch, dragging and releasing. And now we have those where we want them, but they don't look nice. They're not in line. So let's click on that one. We'll click push shift and click on this one. Right click. Going to click on or drag to align vectors. We'll get a fly out menu. Then we're going to go down and we're going to click to align to the top. That places them along the same plane all the way across. Now we can, with them both highlighted, move them together so they're a little more in the center. That looks pretty good right there. We could also push F9 to ensure that they're in the center and release. Now I don't like the way that looks. It looks like it's too far over this way, so I'm going to do that again. I'm going to select them both, and I'm going to move it back to where I had it because I think that just looks better to the eye. We're going to click off of them to deactivate them. Now we're going to do some simple tool paths quickly like. We're going to click on the 1/2 inch, push shift, click on the 5. Let's group them by going over here to this and clicking on group. What that does is it makes it so that they will both highlight. I don't have to push shift anymore. Activate them both. Go up here to V-bit toolpath or V-bit carving. Going to drop down, start depth is 0. I'm going to limit the maximum depth with this, limit tool depth to 0.125. I'm going to select a tool here. I'm going to use a 30-degree V-bit to do this, 30 degrees. Push select, scrolling down. I don't need a roughing tool because that's going to be such a narrow thing. You're never going to get an end mill in there anyway. We're going to click to define the material. In this case, the material is a 1/2 inch. We're going to click OK. Going to give it a name. Let's call it numbers. Oops. Let's go and learn how to spell here. Numbers. And we're going to calculate. So as you can see, it's going to carve our numbers out for us. We're going to close this menu. Now we're going to click off and click on the outside perimeter. We're going to go to a profile toolpath. Very quickly. Start depth is 0. Finish depth is 0.5. Profiling tool. We're going to use a 1/4 inch end mill. We're going to use the O flute Jenny. Select that. Scrolling down, we are going to put some bridges in. We're going to put those in strategically. Let me drag this over. I'm pushing both mouse keys and dragging to the left so that you can see reactivating the vector. I'm going to edit bridges. And we're going to add the bridges here. We're going to click 1/2 inch wide, 1/4 inch thick, 2D bridges. We're going to click apply. And then we're going to strategically put these in. I don't want to put the bridges down here where it would mess up the height of this when we go to use it. If while we're cleaning up the block, we get a burr or whatever here when we clean it up, we don't want to do that. So we'll put a bridge here on the top where it's not going to affect anything. And we'll put a bridge here on the end where it's not going to affect anything. We'll come down here and we will give it a name. I always call these cut loose. Calculate now. And that's all there is to it. All right, if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Give us a like, share, subscribe, and tell me how much you like my new hat in the comments below. That'll tell me you watched it all the way to the bottom. We'll catch you on the next one, everybody.